You're listening to That's Pretty Dark,
the podcast where we talk about all of the entertainment that scared us as children
and still haunts us as adults. So grab your flashlight and join us as we take a frightfully nostalgic look over our shoulders
and under our beds
and in our closets.
And together we'll realize, whoa, that's pretty dark.
Pretty dark.
We're applauding for
Thank
ourselves.
you to myself. Thank you to you. Thank you to me.
Thank you to
Your
yourself.
applause is so appreciative. Appreciate it. Thank you. I so appreciate my own applause to myself.
Oh dear. I feel like that's like a symptom of some kind of disorder, but
Narcissism.
I wasn't going to say it.
Feeling strong. See, I don't need, I'm going to turn down my mic. It's too loud. I don't need those like, you are a champion. Those like recordings you can listen to that make you like boost your self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need that. I just got to like clap at myself in the mirror every morning. I'm just like, hey.
Oh, wow.
Good job.
I cannot picture you actually doing that.
I've never done that. I never will,
Yeah.
just for the podcast, because it gets my blood flowing, gets my energy up. We just tried to start this episode. We got 20 minutes in and decided to turn around, drive back home.
Turn the car around.
Get out of the car, stretch, get back in the car, and hit the road again.
Yeah,
So-
just bad vibes. Weren't feeling
Except that I feel like I'm peaking when I talk now. Except that I'm too excited. Now I feel too good.
it. Oh, dear.
How's that for some realism? The fourth wall breakdown.
My name, by the way, if you wonder,
yeah.
is Kaylin.
My name's Christian, and this is That's Pretty Dark.
Yeah, a podcast where we explore the things that scared us as children
Still haunt us as adults.
and still haunt
Yes.
us as adults.
The simple, scary things
That's right.
that give us the heebie-jeebies and the oogie-boogies and the spookity spoopities.
I thought you were going to say spookity dookities, and I was like, please never.
Spookity dookities.
Don't like that.
Drop a spooky dookie.
Yeah, I knew you were going to do that. Knew you couldn't resist.
Can't help myself. I'm a child.
Oh, Lord.
Forever young. Anyway,
Oh,
without further ado, let's get started.
yeah, let's talk about the...
Let's have
what
fun.
What are you going to tell us about today?
Let's have a good Saturday. Today, we are still in the first season of Are You Afraid of the Dark? Season 1, Episode 6, The Tale of the Super Specs.
Super
gonna get
specs.
awesome.
You're wearing super specs.
I wear glasses, and I'm going to reference that in a
I
little
don't
bit.
at all. I never have. I have perfect vision, so I don't know what that's like.
Uh-huh. I have worn glasses since I was in the 3rd grade. So
What a time to get glasses. I feel like that's a...
it was a rough time. I got
Yeah.
made fun of a lot. This episode, I remember it, watching it again. I was like, oh, yeah, part of this stuck with me
Ooh.
because I wore glasses
Wow.
already.
Yeah, and you know what? This one I didn't have memories of.
That's interesting.
That's funny. Yeah, I just didn't find it, I guess, probably relatable at the time.
Yeah, I can see that. So this episode was directed by your pal, Ron Oliver,
My pal.
who
Your
did,
pal.
yeah, he did Phantom Cab and Laughing in the Dark. So
Oh, yeah. He's my pal now.
he's done a bunch of episodes, and I was like looking into him, and I was like, oh, this is the guy Kaylin already covered, so I won't. That's gonna be the hard thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is in the future we're gonna want to like do deep dives on people we've already deep dove into. So it's gonna be like, oh, that one
Yeah,
thing.
that one dude that did the thing. We'll do our best. We'll try to remember. Try not to subject you to too much
Of the
you know,
redundancy. Yeah.
similar redundancy. Yeah.
I hear that on podcasts all the time. I'm like, you've already
Yeah, I
covered-
do talk back to podcasts often.
You've already done this.
But now I know what it feels like to sit on the other side, so I am going to be
Yeah,
so much
now I know
less
how hard it is.
judgmental about everything.
It's fine because people who are listening, this is the podcast they've wanted, for years now. They're like, finally, someone's doing this.
That's the hope.
That's the reality. All right. So it was written by our friend DJ McHale as Chloe Brown.
Oh, yeah.
So that's always fun, Mr. DJ.
Gotta love Chloe.
And this, I always forget to do the air date. This aired September 19th, 1992.
Man, what a good time to be alive.
It's a great time to be alive.
Not that I remember it, but
Yeah.
I was alive for it. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know,
Mhm.
something about that like early 90s easing into the Halloween season,
Mm. I'd go back. The storyteller for this episode is Gary, which is his first
Yeah,
storytelling.
That was really exciting for me, as much as I
Yeah,
love Gary.
It's a really big deal. I forgot to ask you because I don't know where you found this information. Do you know
I
Gary's
did see it.
storytelling?
According to the fandom wiki thing that kind of generalizes each character and gives them a theme for their stories. Gary's stories tend to be about magical or cursed objects and how misuse of those objects can have dangerous effects.
Boom.
So he likes a good cursed object.
Which, I do too. It's a Horcrux, right?
Yeah.
But thank you for that.
Yes.
So the IMDb summary is Weeds. His name is Weeds.
Weeds. Yeah.
Exactly what you think, Weeds.
Weeds.
A prankster buys his girlfriend, Mary Beth, a pair of super specs as part of his April Fool's Day collection. And once she puts on the glasses, strange figures appear and can't be explained.
Dun, dun, dun.
Ooh.
Spooky.
So yeah, that's the IMDb summary. My on-the-fly summary that I came up with like 10 minutes ago that I didn't write down. Like a little turd prankster that nobody really likes gets in way over his head with a prank and to where like he doesn't even believe it's really true and his girlfriend is the one that has to deal with his shit.
Actually, yeah, there you go.
When she's
That's
like,
good.
all that stuff you were saying, it's happening. He's like,
gaslighting.
yeah, right. He just gaslights her. It's so ridiculous. But I like that aspect of their characters because it plays into Gary's approach to the characters and it plays into their character arcs as well. So we'll get into that in a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm only going to give up top our main players, and then I'll address the other characters as we meet them.
Yeah. I mean, they're at school, so it's like they're coming across all these folks in their day.
Yeah, I don't know. So our main characters are, I'm saying Mary Beth is the lead. Not Weeds.
Okay.
I know Weeds gets a lot of attention, but it becomes her story.
I would agree.
It becomes her story.
Yeah.
So Mary Beth is our lead.
It happens in her house.
Yeah, the whole thing. I mean,
Yeah,
she's the one that
she's the
sees all
lead.
the apparitions, right?
Definitely.
So Mary Beth is played by Graydon Lelyville-Demiro.
Nice.
I think that's correct.
Very French.
And she played Lorraine in The Mystery Files of Shelby Woo as well.
Oh.
Which I don't know if that took off. Did you ever see that?
Yeah, I knew that.
Okay, sweet.
Was it a Disney show?
I'm not sure the platform.
Oh, I can't remember, but that
maybe.
sounds familiar. I feel like I've seen it.
Quite possibly.
I also love
Quite
the name
possibly.
Lorraine.
Yeah.
I think it's because of Back to the Future.
Oh, yeah?
But I like that name, and I think it's definitely has to do with my family's obsession with Back to the Future.
Weeds is played by Eugene Burt, and he was in the show Bones for a few seasons as one of the doctors.
And he looks the exact same.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as you said that, I can see I can already see his face because I just watched the episode. But,
right.
He looks the same grown up.
Oh,
like,
he absolutely
he's
does.
a very distinct guy.
He was in Dead Man with Johnny Depp, this obscure little film. He was on The Cosby Show.
Yep.
And he was on a little show called Ghost Rider.
Ooh.
The third of our main characters is Sardo. Not Sardo and not Mr. Sardo.
I was going to correct you.
Yeah. He's another kind of, he's like a Dr. Vink.
Very, very similar.
He's played by Richard M. Dumont, very prolific voice actor. Like a bunch of video games and a bunch of like animated things, but like he also did voices for the game Splinter Cell. And those are my favorite games of all time. So,
really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I love them. I don't think they make them anymore, but I can't even play them now, and I really wish I could.
I'm sure you can get like an emulator.
Yeah, I'm not that tech savvy. I don't know what all that stuff
You're
is.
way more tech savvy than you used to be. You could figure it out.
And he comes back to play Sardo in future episodes, and he always has the same name, but he's like doing something different. And his main thing is everybody calls him Mr. Sardo, and it's real flat on the dough. So he's like, there's no Mr. accent on the dough.
Every time.
Just like,
Dr. Vink.
All these like adults, these ridiculous adults have their like catchphrases, they're like their pull string catchphrases,
Man, I often in life get frustrated with people that I feel like only say the same three things. I literally have called it like a pull string catchphrase before.
Yeah.
Just people that I talk to where I have trouble interacting because I feel like that's all they'll ever say. So it's a personal pet peeve, but
Yep. Oh yeah, I've got that too. I can think of one in particular. Her name is Kaylin. No, not really. Actually, I'm thinking of another friend.
I pray that I'm not. That is the I would rather be so many things other than that. That would actually insult me if somebody felt like I was that way. I feel like I have a lot to say and contribute to the world. And I hope I don't have any pull string catchphrases. I hope I'm a very difficult person to imitate. You know how sometimes you can do a really good impression of a person if they have something they say all the time? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I hope that nobody can imitate me.
No, I don't have anything like that for you.
Nice.
Nothing like that.
Goal achieved.
Just the one or two things. But besides that, I don't have anything else. But yeah, I have other friends that they just constantly, I could write them as a TV show character because they just repeat the same thing.
Yeah. Can't do it.
Yeah. But David borrows Sardo for one story, and eventually, in the future, Gary's little brother, Tucker, when he joins the Midnight Society, he uses Sardo. But we're getting, way ahead of ourselves with Tucker. Those are our main three characters. I'll get to the other ones as we get to them because they're less significant. Not to be like rude, but that's just the truth.
How dare you? They're just as significant. Everybody is just as important.
No, they're not.
As the other.
Some people are less.
On a TV show, maybe. In billing, sure.
Let's jump right into the tale of the Super Specs. What's up, Specs? I always hated that name for people who wear glasses.
I know.
Specs. It's just like 4 eyes. I just don't get it. It's so stupid.
I definitely remember a kid in my class, like other people calling him 4 eyes, but I don't think anybody ever referenced quote unquote specs.
The quick little breakdown of all the sick burns in this episode.
Oh, nice.
There aren't that many.
This is one of my favorite parts. I love this.
Yeah. I should do a better job. I don't do them for every episode, but not every episode has
that many.
Like a bunch of insults. It depends on the writer, I think. I think DJ McHale likes insults. He uses a lot of the same ones, and I think when they're like other writers, they don't always, pump these episodes full of silly, ridiculous little.
It's like
burns.
The writers were adults and they're like, how do kids talk? Let's just.
Kids are mean. Kids suck. So a show favorite is Toad.
Yep.
Wacko.
Yeah.
Doofus. And so Doofus is one of those that everyone knows, Doofus. But I wonder if like at the time how in the like mainstream like lexicon.
I don't know.
Was Doofus. Like when do certain words become everyday common?
I feel like Doofus is honestly older than our childhood.
Maybe, yeah.
I feel like that would have been before our time almost.
Yeah, but even like jerk meant something totally different in the 50s.
That's true.
How did these words evolve?
I feel like primarily because I wasn't allowed to use words like stupid when I was a child.
Same.
I remember calling my sister a weirdo. Like we would call each other weirdo because that was the only thing that we wouldn't get in like severe trouble for.
Yeah.
We would still get in trouble, but maybe not as much. And it was like sometimes you just couldn't express how angry you were or how annoying that person was being. And the only thing I could use was weirdo.
Weirdo.
And I'm sure she would say the same thing.
Somebody should have told your mom about the correlation between weird and witches.
Ooh.
She would have never.
Then I wouldn't have been allowed to use that one. What would I have done? Where would all my emotions have gone? I had no outlet.
I don't know. You just would have started killing people, probably.
More than likely.
My
sister
outlets.
First. That would be a problem.
First and foremost. Yeah. So Sucker is another one, which I really thought was hilarious. The moment where the kid Mark calls Weeds a sucker. I was just like, man,
sucker.
You're such a little punk. God, you're such a punchable face. And then my favorite is One Sick Little Puppy.
Oh, yeah, I love that one. I was going to say that one if you didn't, because I love that one.
Yeah.
I also think of the band The Sick Puppies, so.
Well, there's that. Yeah.
There's that.
I'm sure I missed some insults, but those are the ones that I noticed and wrote down. So this episode opens in the most unique way across the series. As from what I can tell, I did a little bit of research. I think this is the only time this ever happens.
Yeah.
That we open on an episode where they're not, it opens. I'll just say what it is.
You're really building up to this. I'm ready. You're creating an anticipation.
Yeah, and you know what happens.
And
It opens during the day, and it's between two society members at a location that is not around the campfire.
Where are they, Christian?
They are at Gary's dad's magic shop.
Magic shop? What do you mean?
It's a magic shop. So we now know Gary reveals to us that his dad owns a magic shop. And I think that is impeccable.
I agree.
It's amazing. That was one of the things you were saying about where his story ideas come from because
his dad owns a magic shop. So
his dad owns a magic
cursed
shop.
objects are probably pretty commonplace for him.
Right, exactly. So if you also notice, Gary is not wearing his glasses.
I did notice that. I wrote that down as well.
I thought it was a weird thing.
It's
I guess
foreboding for this episode.
I guess I get it, but he wears glasses. I don't know why he wouldn't, unless he was just trying to look real smooth in front of Kristen.
Well, that's what I was about to say as well. Like, I feel like he gets like his tone and everything. I don't know if it's like he's in his element. He's in his dad's shop where I guess maybe he works and he feels
how cool I am.
Yeah, he feels very confident where he is, but he sounds real flirty when he's talking with her.
He's
like
smooth.
His tone is really like suave.
He's got some moves. I think he's got some
trying.
tricks up his sleeve for sure.
Well, he works in a magic shop, so he should.
Exactly. But Yeah. So, there's also this interesting thing where, they go to different schools, they have different friends, they don't really know each other in their real lives, except they're hanging out at Gary's dad's magic shop. So I think they introduced that, and then they just like, all right, these are friends, they hang out. Like,
Yeah.
maybe they just meant when they met, they had different friends.
Probably.
And they didn't know each other.
And also, like, we don't know.
But again, how do you know each other if you meet? How do you meet in the woods if you don't know each other?
Yeah. And we don't know how often. It's not like they're all hanging out there all the time, probably. She
No.
doesn't seem to be super comfortable. It doesn't
It's
seem
her first
like
time
it's a
there.
hangout. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she's like, this is your dad's shop? He's definitely like, hey, what you doing right now? You want to get an ice cream and go see my dad's magic shop?
Probably.
So they're hanging out, and the first shot is, Gary. He's got this toy little guillotine. He's giving her the old finger in the guillotine trick. Put your finger in my guillotine. Okay.
I was waiting for that.
And he tells her that this magic shop is where he gets all of his story ideas because it's full of, and I quote, all sorts of strange and voodoo and occult stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, pretty spot on for this episode.
Makes sense.
And so Kristen has to break his heart real quick and tell him, the others have been saying your stories aren't that scary lately.
And this is like clearly the worst insult that could possibly be bestowed at this moment.
His reaction, he just looks at her and he's like, who's saying that? He's just real like, who said that?
It's as if like she's just revealed that they're like.
It's like, you're getting soft, Johnny.
Yeah.
They're saying you're getting soft.
Really, you're chicken. It's telling Martin Back to the Future. It's as if they just told Marty McFly that he's a chicken.
Yeah. He's kind of like, he's hurt, he's insulted, but he doesn't let it faze him though, because Gary's awesome. He's just kind of like, okay, all right.
I'll show
I'm
you.
gonna show him what's what.
Yeah.
But, her mentioning also, like, people are saying your stories aren't scary lately is just further proof that we were right. They meet way more often than we get to see. Mm-hmm. There are many more stories being told. And my working theory now is that we don't just see their stories sometimes or get to hear their stories sometimes. We're just hearing the highlights.
Right.
So the top 13 scares of the year.
Wow.
So, she picks up a pair of glasses and he's like, yeah, those are called super specs. They give you X-ray vision.
X-ray vision.
And of course, he puts them on. He makes the first of two yowza jokes in this episode.
I thought that was like, for a kids show, it's
pretty heavy. Yeah. For pretty dark for
pretty dark
kids
but
show.
I feel like it happens in a lot of, like, anytime X-ray vision is mentioned that I can recall. Like,
it's always about a girl's clothes being see-through.
Always. Every time.
Always.
Every time. I feel like it's a weird trope.
So they're discussing about like a belief in magic. And Gary says that he thinks it's better to keep an open mind and be ready for surprises. Expect the unexpected, if you will. So he holds out the glasses and there's just this really amazing 90s, VFX shot of the smoke covering his hand. And when the smoke clears, the glasses are gone, right? Mm-hmm. Spooky transition to the Midnight Society. So that's our introduction. And I don't know if originally that came as a cold open before the credits this time. I read something as a bit of trivia that said that came before the quote unquote introduction.
Oh.
So I don't know if somebody's mistakenly calling the opening credits, like the opening title, the introduction, or if they just meant before we go.
Introduction of the campfire.
Yeah, before we go to the campfire. This happens before that. I don't know exactly. I wish I could go back to September 1992 or August for that matter and just watch the whole season, but I can't. I know you're surprised.
It is interesting that they start somewhere other than the campfire, though. Like, very rare. Apparently, may or may not ever happen.
I think it's the only time. Yeah, at least in the original series, I think.
Yeah.
But I liked it. I wish they'd done more of that, honestly. I like seeing into their lives. And
Me
what they
too.
do.
It adds realism.
I like both. I like that we only see them at the fire, but I also like the idea of seeing them other places too. It's just, can't be pleased. But yeah, so there were super spec type glasses when we were kids around. I don't know if you ever had a pair of X-ray vision glasses.
No, I had like the 3D glasses from movies.
Right. Yeah. Well, they had those.
That's very different.
And they had the like ozone glasses where you could put those on and go out and like see the discoloration in the sky where the ozone's supposed to be. It's a whole Nickelodeon thing, all that stuff. It never really worked. It's all a gag. But obviously, so were these super specs. But I had X-ray vision glasses that I got from. It's another one of those things in the back of my mind I cannot remember. I don't know if the Scholastic magazines had like toys,
Mhm.
things you could buy.
They did.
But I definitely got a pair of X-ray vision glasses, and they were this exact thing.
Oh.
They had the color swirls around the super spec, like the
Weird.
lenses. They had the little hole in the center that had this kind of like film, like a dark discolored film sort of plastic over it. And it pretty much looked exactly like these super specs do when we get into the episode and you actually see what the kids are seeing.
It's almost kaleidoscope-like.
It's like a kaleidoscope.
Like a discoloration, rainbowy
And
haze.
it provides you, in addition to that, with a double vision. It doubles because it distorts it and it makes you see two of everything. And so it's the exact same like visual effect as if you like hold your finger up to your nose and you look past your finger at something else. You keep your focus on like the wall. You can see two of your finger and you can see through both of your fingers.
Right.
Because your eye, it's just your eyes being able to see past it. And so it gives you the optical illusion that you're seeing through your finger, but you're obviously really not. So it's just a cool trick of the eye that I think is super cool. And I liked it because I had a pair of glasses like this that did that.
That's really cool.
Our kid logic was like, no, but you are seeing through your finger. It actually works. And people are like, no, it's not really working. It's like, but I can see through my finger.
Right. And just to note, since we mentioned it, the whole joke about, oh, I can X-ray vision, I can see under your clothes. No, if it's really X-ray vision, you're seeing their bones. You're seeing a skeleton, okay? Like you're not seeing anything exciting.
You're not Superman.
I don't know why that's always the joke.
You don't have selective X-ray vision. You're only going to see bones.
Yeah, sorry. That's my soapbox for the moment. Because
girl, you got some.
Your bones are so hot. Like,
yeah, a real joke would have been like, got milk? Your bones looking strong.
Yeah, especially for that time. But that was all a hoax too, by the way. We don't need dairy milk.
Oh, no, of course.
Marketing.
Wow. Let's just sidebar. Let's just dive into that real quick. Let's have milk cast.
A milk cast where we discuss how little you actually need dairy milk in your life. And how we're the only species on the planet that drinks the milk of something other than our native mammal selves.
Yeah, we're also the only species that drink milk from nuts and oats and stuff too.
That's true. You're not wrong.
I prefer almond milk anyway.
Same.
Milk cast coming to you.
I'm also just bitter because I became lactose intolerant as an adult, so I know what I'm missing.
Yeah, you just wish you could drink cow milk.
And I can't have ice cream and cheese, so I'm really just bitter. You can probably ignore me.
Oh, I do. All right, so moving on, ignoring you. We do the sick fade to the campfire. And the Midnight Society is there. They're, setting up, they're building the fire, collecting wood, all that stuff. I kind of like these realistic looks at like what happens just before the meetings too. Like, because
they're getting ready, preparing.
They're getting ready. Gary's not there, so they're taking that time to further discuss how Gary's stories aren't really any good anymore.
Moral of the story, if you're a storyteller at the Midnight Society, please show up on time. Elsewise, everyone's going to talk shit about you.
Of course they do. So Gary, he's not there. David's not there. And there's this point of view shot, this POV from the woods looking at the members through like the bushes, right? And one voice whispers, now. And another whispers, no, not yet.
That is key.
So Kiki's over there. She's like, man, I can't remember the last time Gary scared me. And as she turns around, Gary's standing there and she jumps and she's like, geez, you scared me. Just great writing. I mean, just solid
so
writing.
Good.
So yeah, Gary apologizes for being late, which if we remember from one of the recent episodes, Gary was all butthurt about people being late. And he was like, we're going to have to be way more strict about people being late.
Yeah.
Or whatever he said.
Yeah, I had a note about that
and
too.
Gary's late this time, but of course he has a good reason, of course.
They always do.
If you're late, I'm upset. But if I'm late, I have an excuse. I have a good reason. And he lets everyone know that David can't make it because David is sick this evening. So David won't be here.
Isn't David the one that was giving Kristen the birthday gift? The locket? Yeah.
Yeah, that's David, yeah.
Well, the reason David's not there is because Gary's trying to move in on his woman.
Oh yeah, man. You better
That's probably why.
You better just chill. David, if I see you around the campfire, I'm going to kick you in the nuts.
Oh, no.
I'm going to steal your girl.
Man, that took a turn.
Oh, did I get too serious? Sorry.
Yeah, a kick in the nuts is very serious, apparently.
Yeah, I know. I better dial it back. We're going to lose listeners. Oh, Man, sorry. Close call. Thanks for really reeling me back
You're
in.
welcome. I'm here
Check
to
myself
help.
before I wreck myself.
That's right.
This is the only episode, the only story where David is absent from the storytelling.
Wow.
I think the only episode where any member at all is absent from the storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Like, you want everybody in your club to be at the meetings.
Gary tells us his story is about 3 kinds of people.
People who believe in magic, people who don't, and people who should.
I thought that was pretty melodramatic and great.
I liked it. I like Gary as a storyteller.
I do too. I love Gary.
So the Are You Afraid of the Dark fandom wiki says the quote is people who shouldn't, but that's totally wrong.
Yeah, it's definitely people who should.
It's another big error on the fandom site that
Oops.
they got to go. Somebody needs to go back and check all this.
I feel like nobody but us has been looking at that in the past.
Probably
decade,
not. I hope
but-
not. That means the other podcasts that do this are not being very efficient.
Oh, wait. You're right. I bet they probably are. Sorry.
They probably are.
Other than them and us.
But if not, all the better to talk into your ears with, my friends, my dears.
Talking to your ears.
My mouth's pretty big.
No.
All the better to
Talking to your ears.
your
like-
ASMR radio.
Ugh.
Welcome.
I don't like ASMR. Do you like ASMR? Have we talked about this before?
I'm sure we have. I don't know if this is the time and place, but I don't like it. It doesn't do it for me.
It makes me uncomfortable. Like, it hurts me almost. Like, I get the tingling sensation that they talk about, but it's unpleasant.
I don't know that I
we don't
get
have
that.
to discuss, but
Yeah, I mean,
hot take, not ASMR fans.
I'm not a big fan of it. No, I like some of the echoes it's having in the film world, the film and commercial world. I like better sound design in commercials specifically because I hate commercials and I hate when they're on like my streaming platforms. But sometimes they sound really
when
good
they
now because
scream at me on Hulu.
No, well, when like the ones that are chill and they're putting a lot more emphasis and focus on good sounds, like sounds that have texture.
Yeah, we probably have talked about this because we've been popping cans.
Right, but yeah.
Wow, that was a really uncanny like imitation.
Thanks. Anyway, so go correct the fandom, whoever, wiki, whoever. It's people who should believe. So he throws a handful of that tasty midnight dust on the fire and submits for the approval of the Midnight Society, the tale of the super specs.
Woo.
This is also one of the ways in which the lead up to, like, sometimes they're really like on the nose about how they lead up from the Midnight Society shenanigans to the story. This one is like, it's so intense. It's so insane. Like, we open on it's shot at the same magic shop.
Yeah.
As Gary's dad's magic shop. And the 2 characters, the boy and girl, are wearing the like exact same clothes.
Yeah.
That Gary and Kristen were wearing at the magic shop. And so it's like, yeah, it's cool. And I'm going to call
storyception.
I'm going to call back to this at the end.
Okay.
But they do this pretty intentionally. It's really, really fun. It's a fun nod to this twist ending we have at the end. So we know off the bat, April Fool's Day is coming up, which again is also very strange because this aired in September.
Oh yeah. No, you're right.
It's September and we're talking about
that.
April Fool's Day. So
well,
that's weird.
I watch, I don't necessarily expect the shows that I watch. Like, I know that a lot of sitcoms are Friends, How I Met Your Mother.
They do now.
Yeah, a lot of them do try to keep with the timing. The Office, even, they kept with the timing of what was happening. But, I mean, I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me that much, especially since we're now used to watching everything on demand. It's like you're watching it whenever you want, but obviously that wasn't the case.
Well, I just mean if it's going to air in September, I just think it's interesting that they would talk about something that happened like, 5 months ago.
And it seemed like it was springtime at school, like in the episode.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe it was concurrent with what was happening as they were filming and not necessarily, obviously, when it was airing.
I mean, yeah, possibly. And Weeds is super into magic. So they're at this magic shop. It's like his favorite magic shop. And he's got this pouch of magic dust, which is, a nod to the midnight dust, I'm sure.
Yes.
Thanks, Gary. And they call it the dust of Denderon. I tried to research it. Denderon doesn't exist. It's nothing. It's not a thing.
They just made it up. That's okay.
And
it's fiction.
Weeds tells us it's probably crushed monkey bones. He says it's crucial for every, voodoo spell, which looked up crushed monkey bones. Nothing out there in the Google world about crushed monkey bones.
So they're just, taking
They're
swings.
just throwing everything out there. And he's reading through this book of magic spells, and he finds one for second sight. And so he then delivers the incantation.
Umbu, Tubu, Sunra Day. Insu, Hulu, Bombade.
You gonna tell me that translates to something?
I have no idea.
Oh, man.
I don't think so. Maybe.
I was hoping so.
Do a quick Google.
Yeah, I'm gonna type that all out real fast.
Yeah, real quick. And so he says this, and he takes a handful of this dust and just scatters it into the air, which, I don't really know what that was supposed to do, but luckily it covers a bunch of these super specs that are on the table in front of him.
I would have assumed that he was doing it on purpose to the glasses, but yeah, it doesn't seem to be that way, which is odd.
No, I think he just threw it into the air and it landed, because it was sort of the shot like, ooh, the glasses got covered in, magic dust. So we then learned through their conversation that he's dating this girl named Mary Beth, and they've been seeing each other for a long time now, aka 2 weeks.
Right.
So she's like, I'm beginning to think you're not very mature. And then he squeezes this whoopee cushion.
I feel you, Mary Beth. I feel you. That's been me in every relationship I've ever been.
You need to lose this guy, Mary Beth. Then reveal Sardo. No Mr. accent on the dough.
If you ever get it wrong, I'm going to correct you.
I probably will. It's just easier to say.
DJ would want it that way.
It's easier to say Sardo.
It is. It's way more natural, which is the point, I think.
I'm just going to say Sardo from here on out.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Then I won't correct you if you're just making that claim. Okay.
You can correct me, but I'm sorry.
But I don't care.
So he comes out and he's like, okay, buy something or leave. Get out of my magic shop. Weeds picks up a pair of these super specs and he's like, hey, what are these? And of course, Sardo tells him, some say they give you x-ray vision. It's very fanciful. And of course, he puts them on and looks at Mary Beth and delivers the second of two yowza jokes. So it's like immediate. So Gary's like just pulling directly from what he did that day.
Yeah, just a parallel. He's created this story around his life. I could see him just like glance over at Kristen, just like wink at her. Right. Like, what happens here.
You remember when my finger was in the guillotine? The guillotine time?
Oh my God. Oh, wow.
We'll always have the guillotine.
We'll always have the guillotine.
So anyway, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna get these. And he just insists that Mary Beth put them on because they're a goof.
A goof. Yeah.
And I love that. She says, I wouldn't wear those to my funeral.
I know. That's so 90s to say.
Like, it's so 90s, so extremist. And I think I used that before.
Yeah.
And of course, he's insisting she do it because he's not going to take no for an answer. What boy would take no for an answer? So, yeah, she puts them on.
What boy would take no for an answer? Sorry. It's just getting to my brain a little bit delayed.
Yeah, you took a second. I was waiting for you to answer.
I took a second because it hurt, I guess. It was painful.
Yeah, that was for you to comment on.
Well, to that I say...
don't. I don't know. Yeah, so she puts them on. She's like, fine. And she sees a figure standing at the back of the store.
Yes.
And there's this person standing in this full like black mesh outfit from head to toe, solid black.
Yeah, I have a note that it's like a blackout suit. It's like, Party City, like one of the party stores. You can buy all these colored suits of different, it's all like the stretchy material.
Right.
And it literally just looks like somebody wearing a black version of that.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And she like freaks out, takes them off, and she's like, where'd that person go? There was somebody there. He calls her a wacko, kisses her cheek, and then just like walks away.
I love how he like wants her to buy in, wants her to play along, like wants her to play the game. And then as soon as she does, he's like, screw you.
He's like, yeah, you're crazy.
Gaslighting.
So yeah, he gaslights her this entire episode. It's really pretty pitiful. Now we cut to school. They're all sitting outside doing their stuff, and Weeds is going to proceed to try to like pull some pranks on a bunch of people at school today. It's April Fool's now. He's reading a book called Voodoo Made Easy. Which,
Voodoo for dummies.
Yeah, I wish it was that simple and like innocent and guilt-free. Like you could just like, yeah, I think I'll just try some magic today. We'll just try some voodoo real quick because magic doesn't take from you more than it actually gives you. Come on.
And it's not like an actual religious tradition practiced by people.
Yeah, right.
Of course
exactly.
not.
And so there are these two girls sitting on the other side of the tree against the trunk where he's sitting, and they're dressed like identical. They have the exact same shirt on.
I didn't notice that.
And these characters are not addressed by name. One is named Patty, and the other is named Catherine.
Okay.
Patty is supposedly played by Carol Ann Gascon, and Catherine is played by Annette Boozy. So I don't know which one's which, but it's these two girls.
That's sad.
So he plays this prank where he's going to steal one of their yogurt cups.
This kind of bothered me.
Sprinkling this nasty ass crushed monkey bone powder into her cup of yogurt.
Just reaches over, takes her yogurt, and puts it back like he's spiking it.
Yeah, it was.
That was a weird subliminal thing. I did not like
pretty
it.
date rapey.
Yeah.
He kind of is the worst of every guy
Ugh.
in this episode. He kind of is bad. He's dismissive, gaslighty, insulting, sort of. He wants to do everything his way. He wants to put something in your food/drink
Ugh.
and not have any consequences. And yet when you call him out or you talk about it, he's like, what? You're not taking this seriously, are you?
Yeah, it's just a prank. Ugh.
Drugged you as a prank. You didn't get it? You didn't think it was funny?
That's just like you not to get it.
When he goes to put the yogurt back down, the girl grabs his arm and pulls him down. It's like throws him on the ground.
Hell
Like
yeah,
she
she
should be on
does.
the wrestling team. I mean, she's like, get on the ground. What are you doing, you jerk? And, you know, they give him a hard time about it. And
As they should.
as they should, about the pranks. And of course, you don't assume that he's pranking you if he's touching your yogurt cup. You're just like, I'm
Yeah.
going to eat this yogurt that you were just touching real quick.
Yeah.
So not to like victim blame, but she definitely did she pulled him to the ground because he was touching her yogurt. And yet she's like, I'm going to eat this yogurt real quick.
That's true. I probably wouldn't have eaten it.
What'd you do to it, you creep?
You eat it.
She takes a bite. Nothing happens immediately. So he's like, man,
What a ripoff. Ugh.
he leaves and her voice sounds like a chipmunk. So it did work. But it's interesting though, that it didn't work while he was watching.
Oh,
It worked after he left.
interesting.
So that happens a couple more times. And it plays into their character arcs and the whole concept of this magic having a mind of its own.
It's not going to do what he wants it to do.
Right. You give it life. It's like Frankenstein's creation. You can't control it once you create it. It's its own being. It can do whatever it wants.
Ick.
If you bring it to life, you're sort of at its mercy.
Do you know what I'm at the mercy of?
A full bladder.
Well, no, not currently. I just took care of that. But there's this girl that dials into our Monday morning meetings at work. And
Oh, yeah. What's her name?
well, she's just a girl. And every time she takes her computer off the dock or whatever and brings it back on Monday,
Mhm.
her microphone without fail makes her sound like a chipmunk.
Oh, no.
So it's just like, we'll all be like having a serious meeting and then somebody will ask her a question and she'll just go, me, 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 me. And the first time it was funny. Like, it was funny. We all laughed. But every time since then, I'm forced to, every single Monday, without fail, there will be a time when somebody speaks to her and then it's, and then somebody's like,
Oh, no.
hey, you sound like a chipmunk again. And then everybody laughs. And I'm just like, please kill me. Kill me now.
Sounds like Cousin It from Adam's Family.
Yeah, it is exactly like that. But it's just like recurring. And I'm held in this vicious cycle.
Gosh.
And everybody, each time, somehow talk about pull string phrases. They just think it's so funny each and every time.
Man.
It's not new anymore. It's worn off for me. I don't find it funny. We've been doing this whole Zoom thing for over a year.
Yeah. Wow.
Get it together.
Get it together,
Anyway,
guys.
that's what I'm held at the mercy of. But
Nice.
I digress.
So he goes inside. He's going to play a prank on his friend Mark.
His mark.
His Mark, which again, another character that shouldn't have a name but does. 'Cause he's never called Mark. He's played by Errol Tenenbaum, and what a dope name.
That is a great name.
He opens his locker and a spring-loaded fist punches him in the face. It's crazy. And Weeds is watching the whole time, wearing the super specs. So he comes out laughing, and it's just the worst kind of kid, man. I hate kids that do that. And
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, you should have seen your face," and you're like, "I didn't make a face."
I can see you getting really worked up about something like
I get
that.
mad about stuff like that. Yeah, kids would do stuff and be like, "Oh man, you reacted like this." I'm like, I literally did the opposite. I don't know what you're talking about. So this kid should be on the boxing team, while the other chick is on the wrestling team for sure, because he's just taking licks. It's nobody's business. So he's like, "What are those glasses?" And Mary Beth shows up at this exact moment, puts them on, and she's like, "They're magic glasses that make you look cool." So she puts them on to show, how cool she looks. Down the hall, she sees another kind of spooky shadow person, a phantom person.
That seems almost dressed like a nun.
Yeah, she's definitely,
Nun vibes.
if a nun wore a totally totally black hood.
It's like a habit, but yeah, the black suit again.
It's pretty ominous. It's a pretty scary shot. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie. Like, that's a pretty spooky thing.
It's weird.
She takes the glasses off and sees that there's no one there. And, she's like, I just saw somebody again. Where'd that woman go? But, these two guys are both like, okay, yeah, you saw somebody. April Fools, sure.
Is that whenever... I have it written down. I don't remember if it's in this moment, but Weeds is like, yeah, this is getting really old and B.
No, that's next.
Okay.
Yeah, this time they just walk away. They're
Don't
just
worry,
like,
the gaslighting continues. There's more where that came from.
now we do cut immediately to, it's the end of the school day. Everybody's leaving. Mary Beth and Weeds are arguing about whether or not Mary Beth is actually seeing something or seeing people when she wears the glasses. And he's like, yeah, this is getting really old.
Ugh.
It's not funny anymore.
You're one to talk, dude.
So she puts them on again. And there's this moment where she sees the woman across the yard by this tree. And she's like, look over there by the tree. You're going to see her. He doesn't see anything, of course. And she puts them back on to see if the woman's gone. And the woman is still there.
Mm.
So yeah, it's kind of hilarious because she like screams and it's cut off short. The cut is weird.
I have that note too. It's like her scream is just like abruptly cut off.
Yeah. And then it cuts to her like not screaming. And she throws the glasses in the trash can and storms off. You think he just like leaves them there?
He seems done with the whole
I guess he seems
joke.
done.
It's not his idea anymore, so.
Right. Yeah, she took it from him. She's taken the prank too far.
I know I'm putting a lot on this kid, but like, dude, I've known these guys, so.
I think that's accurate. Now, Weeds and Mark are playing horse on the old blacktop.
They're talking a lot of smack for a game of horse.
This is where he's like, yeah, that's it. HORS.
Mm.
One more and you lose, sucker. Like, I'm like, dude,
yeah,
get outta here,
really laying it on thick.
Mm.
I loved to play horse. I really did. I was good at it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, horse is fun. I like horse. Played many a game. So Weeds, ever the sore loser, he takes the ball with his back turned and sprinkles some of the dust on the ball and, says another spell. So he's keeping this open pouch of dust in his pocket while he's playing horse. And it's not spilling out everywhere, which I just find miraculous.
It is.
And of course, he shoots his shot. He misses it. Once again, showing Weeds that this magic isn't working. So it's further proof for him that it doesn't work. It's not real. It's just feeding his disbelief, right?
It's bogus.
So he throws the ball over his head, nonchalant, and sinks it, nothing but net.
Yep.
Swoosh.
Swoosh.
Money. So it happened behind his back. As soon as he walked away, didn't see it. It worked.
Nice. Yeah.
Right.
True.
This is the second time it's happened. So meanwhile, Mary Beth is walking home with one of the girls from the schoolyard. I don't know which one. Not the chipmunk wrestler. The other one.
To be clear, she doesn't wrestle chipmunks. She sounds like a chipmunk, and she's a wrestler because she attacked him. Got it.
Exactly. For all we know, she is a chipmunk now. Maybe the spell continued.
Who knows?
Started with her voice and it worked its way down. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened. She's not there.
She doesn't sound like... Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we don't know what she sounds like at this point, so...
She's gone.
Can you imagine if that just affected her for the rest of her life? What if it never wore off?
She just had to
What if that's how she sounds?
Yeah, could be.
She's like in her 50s now. Just 40s at least.
She has like chipmunk, but like with like smoker's voice.
Yeah, that's her now.
Real rough since I was 13 years old. It's been a hard 40 years.
I can't even do it, but
that wasn't bad.
So Mary Beth is telling her about this woman she keeps seeing, and she's complaining about Weeds and all this stuff. She's telling her about her day, and she looks in her purse, and surprise, the super specs are in her purse.
Oh,
but I thought she threw them away. So she runs all the way back to what we now see. The name of this magic shop is the Magic Mansion.
Yes.
Basically, it's closed. It's locked. She just pushes them in through the mail slot, like, take them back. I don't want them. And then she goes home. All should be well. But once again, they're in her bag. So, what else are you going to do but put them on again, even though that's the only time you're actually afraid and worried about them.
Is when you wear them.
Right. Now we play this very long game of like looky-loo and wandering through the house looking at stuff. It takes a long time.
It does.
So we're just going to summarize.
Also, there's a cookie jar in the shape of a leopard. If you don't have that in your summary.
I noticed that.
Weird. Was this a decor trend at the time? Because I don't think I knew anybody with a leopard cookie jar.
I don't know.
Like a whole leopard, the whole thing.
It was a whole porcelain leopard. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, my cookie jar is a jaguar, so I don't get the
I mean,
leopard
mine's
thing.
a lion, so I don't understand the leopard thing.
The leopard thing's weird.
I don't get it.
My school mascot growing up was the leopards.
You should have had this cookie jar.
I should have. They should have given them away every year. Graduate kindergarten, they're like, here's a leopard cookie jar. Good for you. You made it. So anyway, yeah. So the first thing she sees is this like copper tea kettle on the stove. She passes her hand through it. This is all playing into the idea of like the spell was for second sight, not second feel, not second hear, not second base. Nobody, Weeds is not getting second base today right now.
Certainly not.
He's going to hit some foul balls. He's going to strike out.
Yeah.
You can just see the kettle. She walks past this burning fire in the hearth.
And when she looks at the fireplace, she has this weird, like, misplaced...
She goes, oh, man.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's like, why is that
Zoinks.
worse?
Like, it's very...
Oh, Scoop.
It's not... It doesn't fit the character.
The kettle would have gotten me.
Sure, yeah,
than
you
the
can
fire.
tell there's nothing on your stove, but you see a kettle. That's weird. That's trippy.
I don't get it.
But the fire is what put her over the edge.
She goes walks all the way through the house, all the way back to this back bedroom, where she sees the same spooky lady, the phantom lady, holding her book, and this woman now points directly at her.
Yes.
Which I may have missed that. I think she points at her at the tree.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, she points at her.
Here's the significance that I've found, or I drew from this, is that not only can she see these shadow people, but they can see her.
Right.
Right. That's why she screamed in the schoolyard.
Yeah.
Because the woman pointed at her.
Saw her.
So that told her, oh no, this thing can see me.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't exactly translate. But when you think about it, if I were to see something that I wasn't sure if it was there, but if it were to turn and look at me,
Yeah, that's a problem.
that would scare me.
Yeah, same. And they don't have the benefit of having like visible eyeballs. So it's, they can't make eye
Right.
contact.
So you don't know. So she has to point at her and tell her, hey, I see you.
Right. Makes sense.
So all of this tracks with this theme and everything. And I hope I can like tie it all together for everybody at the end of this episode, because all of this makes so much sense to me. After finishing it and doing some research, I'm like, man,
Nice.
DJ McHale, you did a great job writing this, because you made sure all these things checked off all these boxes. I love it. This was a well-researched episode and a planned episode.
Yeah.
For sure. And that sends us back to the Midnight Society for our regular dose of exposition. They're discussing whether or not the shadow people are actually there physically, or if she can just see them.
Right.
They're asking the same questions that we're asking, like, oh, well, I mean, what is classes actually doing? What is this? And that leaves us they don't answer the question, obviously. So that leaves us to ponder this question for ourselves as we keep watching this episode.
Mm-hmm.
We go back into the story, and, these guys are still playing basketball. And she goes to tell Weed what's happening, just like, I don't know, expecting him to believe her this time.
Or care at all.
Or care at all.
Because he is her boyfriend.
Which, of course, he doesn't. And as proof, somehow, she puts on the glasses again.
Yeah.
And sees a group of shadow people playing basketball.
Yeah.
Which
it was uncomfortable for me.
It's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
But she's like screaming, and then she runs away. She runs right back to the Magic Mansion where, Sardo is there.
He says something interesting when he's kind of blowing her off.
Yeah.
He's like, that's your never mind. Did you
Mhm.
notice that?
Mm-hmm.
It made me think of this line from The Parent Trap when Chessie's trying to pretend like she doesn't care, or it's not her business to be saying something, but she's going to go ahead and share it anyway.
Yeah.
And I've always thought it was weird phrasing. That's why it sticks in my head.
Yeah.
But in that, she says, it's none of mine, never mind. Like, that's what she
Yeah.
says. And then he said this, and I'm like, is that something people said in the 90s? And I just missed it? Because nobody that I
It
talked
must
to
have
said
been.
that.
It sounds so archaic. It feels like it has this older,
That's your never mind.
that's your never mind.
And the only other time I've ever in my life heard it said was another 90s movie.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
But throughout this whole scene here in the magic shop, we basically learn that Sardo is a hack. He doesn't believe in magic.
No kidding.
Surprise,
No way.
surprise. And he's just selling the illusion of magic, as it were. And she catches him up to speed, tells him what's happening, and he's just sort of waxing off about like, oh, yes, of course, this is what's happening. Must be. Yes.
He
mhm."
clearly doesn't know what
He's
he's
just
talking
making this up off the top of his head.
Yeah.
But he gives us pretty spot on exposition. He's just inaccurate. He just gets it wrong. He says, and I quote, "There are beings all around us, all the time, that we can't see because they're in another dimension. And then he inaccurately surmises that a window to a parallel universe has been opened in her house.
Okay. Yes.
Yes. He says these beings have crossed over because the window is open, and now these beings could take over because they're very dangerous. And he doesn't believe any of this, but he's saying it anyway. I don't really know why. Maybe because he's trying to get some money out of her.
That's my assumption.
So it's pretty clear that he's still unconvinced. He's looking for the dust of Dendron, but it's gone. Now we have to involve weeds. That's how we involve weeds.
Right. It kind of bothered me that he said that this window has been opened, at her house, but the spell was cast at the shop.
At the shop, right.
So
he's wrong.
Why? Yeah,
he's just wrong.
It doesn't make sense.
Which is Gary's point at the end, that, Sardo doesn't know what he's doing.
And you probably shouldn't mess with this stuff if you don't know what you're doing.
It bothers me. Yeah, it was cast at the shop, but also she's seeing these beings at school, on the basketball court. She saw people in the magic shop.
Yeah, it feels way more like it was cast on her.
Right. So they're close, but they're not really piecing it all together. After the mention of weeds, we cut to Weeds about to flush this powder down the toilet. Just so ridiculous.
This was such a weird shot. Like,
pouch and all, man. The whole thing.
So
he's not even going
awkward.
to dump it out and throw the pouch away. He's just going to flush the whole pouch.
It was just a weird, awkward.
It's weird.
And the fact that you're looking up from the toilet bowl.
Yeah.
Just
so awkward. Because he kind of makes this, he reaches into his pocket for the pouch.
I thought the same thing.
It looked like he was about to,
go
pull
to
it
the
out
bathroom.
and just go to the bathroom.
It did, and I didn't know if it was
camera.
on purpose. I didn't know if they noticed that, but I was very put off by it.
I guess it was supposed to make kids think for a second he's about to go, just pee.
Is that supposed to be funny? I don't know.
It was questionable at best, for sure. But he pulls out the pouch, and he's about to drop it in, but Mary Beth just,
appears out of nowhere.
Takes it, and she's like, if you flush it, you're going in after it. So ridiculous. I can see that being, an alternate.
Yeah.
We have this way, or we have this fun toilet shot.
Right.
Kids love toilets.
Kids love toilets, yeah. Toilet humor.
And now we cut to the big, final, climactic scene of this whole story, where they're in her house, and Sardo has this, crystal ball, and he's just saying Alakazam.
I want one. It's a beautiful
crystal ball?
Yeah, I do.
It really is beautiful. I'll get you one. Your birthday's coming up. So.
That's true. A crystal ball for my birthday. I just think I love the way that they look. They're pretty.
They really are. Yeah, so he's just repeating Alakazam over and over and over, and then speaking all kinds of nonsense, and Weeds is just not buying it. He's not having it. So this is the point where I have my note about the character arcs. Weeds is now the one who doesn't believe.
He's the skeptic.
He's giving her a hard time.
Yeah.
I mean, he has been this whole time, but now it's full-fledged,
angry.
He's angry. Yeah, he thinks Sardo was cool because he owned the magic shop. Now he's upset that Sardo is involved in their lives. And he's like, you're losing your mind. He's angry because it's beginning to kind of scare him, I guess, because he's like, I don't know what's happening.
It feels like she's bought
here.
into something that's
yeah. So I liked this character development for these people because they flip and they reverse. They become a more true, complete version of each other from who they were in the beginning.
Man,
so
you're giving them a lot of credit.
She was the skeptic at first, but he becomes this hardened, angry skeptic. I'm not even saying it's good. I'm just saying it's more of a developed version of the opposite.
Right.
And he liked magic, wanted to believe, wanted it to work, but it didn't really work for him all that well. But now she doesn't necessarily want it to work, but she believes wholeheartedly because of what she's seen.
Yeah.
So she becomes what he wanted to be in the beginning, and he's becoming what he didn't like to see in her in the beginning.
Huh.
I thought it was honestly just smooth character development.
Yeah.
Story arc for these characters.
As they're going through the experiences.
Yeah. In a 20-minute episode of something.
Yeah.
I was like, man, this is pretty thorough. So the spell really isn't working. Nothing is really happening until she reminds Sardo to use the dust of Dendron.
Probably more coffee mate, honestly.
Yeah, I forgot to say that. Yeah, it's probably just more coffee. the midnight dust for sure. And, as soon as he uses the dust, the lights go out. The table starts rocking around. Now they're in this suspended darkness. The table, everything's moving like they're on a boat.
Seance vibes.
And when everything starts happening, basically Sardo reveals and admits that he doesn't know what he's doing. And he's surprised that the dust is actually real, that something is actually happening. He can't believe it. And she puts on the glasses to see what she can see. And, she's seeing all these shadow people everywhere. And Weeds is take them off. because you can see them without the glasses.
Ugh.
So big reveal, very scary.
Yep, that's the dun dun dun
Yeah, for sure.
moment.
So Sardo finishes the spell, and everything kind of goes quiet. And they think they've solved the problem.
It was that easy.
They think it worked until this light turns on, the spotlight turns on, and this pair of enormous dark eyes appears out of the shadows. And the spooky voice says,
You have tampered with the cosmic seal. Two universes cannot exist on the same plane. Balance must be restored.
You know what it reminded me of?
what's that?
Well, probably, I guess a couple things. Like Wizard of Oz, just this ominous, disembodied person speaking from the sky. But also, did you ever see the show Fringe? Have we talked about Fringe before?
Mhm.
Love that show.
Yeah.
In the later seasons, not to spoil anything, but there is a lot of discussion of parallel universes and like two universes existing and the way that tears space and time. And that was immediately where my mind went.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it can be done really well sometimes, and it's really interesting to me. I like the idea of parallel universes and the way
Well,
that they
there are some scientists out there that say it's
fact.
they say it's very likely that that's actually happening. So I find it fascinating.
Me too.
So the voice continues to speak some new spell. There's this big flash to white, and as all the color comes back in, and we can see clearly. Spoiler: we're in the other dimension.
Ooh.
It looks almost exactly like her house, and these two kids walk into the room that look very much like Weeds and Mary Beth, although they are two new actors.
Mhm.
So Weeds' alter ego, as the name he's given in the credits, is played by Paul-Emile Frappier. And I haven't confirmed this, but everything says he plays Mr. Killman in the Goosebumps episode, Trilogy Part 1, Squeal of Fortune, which I know that episode very well, but I cannot remember the character. And then Mary Beth's alter ego is played by Tara Anik. And this is the only thing she's done
Wow.
that I could find
Yep.
on IMDb.
Just snatched them up some Canadian kiddos.
So they're in there, and in walks this same phantom woman wearing the all black scary clothing, and she takes off the hood, and she's
a lady,
normal looking woman,
Yeah.
and she's just like, "Yes, I closed the seal. I'm awesome. I am the woman."
Yep.
Anyway, I thought it was very funny.
Yeah, it was a little over the top.
Yeah, pretty much.
Even for this.
And her credit is the Dark Lady / Phantom.
I love the word phantom.
Yeah, me too. Gary calls her the Woman in Black.
Yes.
So I don't really know why they didn't just name her character the Woman in Black if he calls her that. But Rochelle Glate. And she returns later to play Mrs. Ritter in The Tale of the Long Ago Locket.
Huh.
So now we know this is the other dimension. These are the people that Mary Beth has been seeing the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
And we see Weeds, Mary Beth, and Sardo trapped in the crystal ball.
Yes.
And they're screaming to be let out. Pretty dark ending.
Yeah, I liked it.
Right? So that tells us, we fade back to the Midnight Society for them to sort of wrap things up and explain what's happening. Kristen is like, so the other universe won.
Mm-hmm.
Mary Beth and all of them, they were trying to get these shadow people to leave and go away. How do we close the window? Instead of just closing the window, the other universe closes it by trapping them in a crystal ball somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's
somehow.
just them or if it's
the whole universe.
That entire universe.
I don't know. I was going to ask what you thought because I don't know.
It's hard to say. I'm going to have to say that they encapsulated the entire universe into an object that's now enchanted and cursed and needs to be hidden at the bottom of a cavern somewhere.
That is so weird.
So Kristen's like, so wait, the other universe wins? And Gary's like, yeah, exactly. Because the Phantom Lady was kick-ass and Sardo was a fake.
Right.
And
he's like, yeah, this is how it should be.
This is how it works.
Which it's kind of interesting. Not that Mary Beth necessarily did anything wrong, but Weeds wasn't a great guy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, are they trying to make some point about like morality here? Like these people weren't that great of people and these people were better?
I don't know if I'd say that. I think it's less of a black and white sort of I don't think there's a moral. I think there's no moral to this story. I think Gary, which I'll get into this in a minute, probably too heavily, but I'll begin by saying this harkens back to Gary's original point where he says the story is about three types of people who do believe in magic, people who don't, and people who should.
Mm-hmm.
Sardo is the type of person who should have believed in magic.
Right.
He's a fake.
Because he's kind of selling the idea.
He's selling the idea.
Yeah.
Right. That he is this all-knowing, magical wizard type of guy, and he's not. He's a fraud. he says, but the other woman, she was a real, magician or wizard or sorceress or whatever she is. She knew what she was doing. She wasn't a fraud.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reaching because I don't want to believe that there's a moral here. But if anything, it would be like, be your best, most like you're the truest,
most authentic.
Be your
self.
most authentic self, the truest version, the best version of yourself you can be, whatever that is.
Otherwise, your whole universe is going to collapse.
Yeah, but potentially, if you come across your alter ego on the other side, the other spectral plane, and they want to beat you at your own game, be better than they are.
Which is interesting because Fringe kind of does that too. No spoilers, but
well, it's a very, very real it's a science fiction, a common science fiction theme, I would say, or a moral within like a science fiction genre of like, be authentic, be the best version of you out there because there's a bunch of you out in those other dimensions. So you
better be the best.
I mean, that's like Rick and Morty. Rick's whole thing is that he's the best Rick.
Yeah.
And he's forever.
I don't think I'm the best Kaylin. I'm sure there's a better one out there somewhere.
Right. Well, there's a better Morty in every other universe. So it's kind of like we're all the Morty. No one's the Rick, right? Mm-hmm. But Gary's like, be the best Rick, be the best version that you are out there because there's a bunch of you. So anyway, I don't think there's a moral, but I like that Gary's like,
it's still introspective.
It's like, it's introspection, but it's full-fledged like science fiction meets philosophy. And he's just kind of like, yeah, they were better, so they won. They deserve to win.
Mm-hmm. And he's very matter-of-fact about it.
He's happy about it.
And because I think he really just believes that. He has this very like static idea, which is not really what I thought of him like as a kid. I thought he was this like, I don't know, prolific, open-minded, always learning type of person. I don't know if he is.
Well, I'd say he is. When it comes to like a practical thing like this, I think that it's more not open-minded.
Is it idealistic? Like just he's young and so he wants it to work that way? Maybe we're getting real deep into it now.
I don't know. Yeah. I would say that if Gary believes, I would say that Gary is the best version of Gary. He's the best Gary out there.
Yeah. So it's really easy for him to say.
It's easy for him to say that, but it's also easy for him to he would even believe that he's the best Gary because he's always improving himself and always bettering himself. I think that Gary has that practical mindset of like, oh, I can be the best if I work hard enough.
Yeah, for sure.
If I study the best, if I study the hardest and I try to learn this,
then I'll be the best.
I'm going to make the best grade on this test.
Yep.
I think it's very practical, but he's just confident. I mean, look how suave he was talking to Kristen in the magic shop with no glasses on. I mean,
Speaking of Gary being confident.
Right. He's super confident, Mr. Finger in the Guillotine. But anyway, so that was a quick little deep dive. We'll get there in a second, but let's finish this episode. So presuming that Gary has now redeemed himself in the eyes of his peers, pun intended, he hands them each a pair of super specs from his dad's magic shop.
April Fool's gift.
It's an April Fool's gift.
That's so nice.
And this is where I was like, but didn't it release in September? Anyway, he tells them to put them all on at the count of 3. And once they do, there's someone standing there behind Gary wearing that same kind of black shroud, like one of the shadow people from the story. Kiki, Eric, and Frank all run away screaming. And Kristen just sits there, all nonchalant. She understands it's a gag. And she's like, so much for your stories not being scary.
Wink, wink.
The guy takes off the hood. It's David. David wasn't sick. He was there the whole time.
He was in on the joke.
Waiting for...
Yeah, just standing in the woods.
And then there's this really awkward, like, 3-way handshake thing.
Yeah.
That I really hated to watch.
Yeah, the 3 of them.
And then David has to be, like, the third wheel.
Well, he loves Kristen.
He loves her. And he, like, puts his hand on top.
Aww.
And he's just kind of, like, shakes their hands.
Sad.
It's so awkward.
David.
He was just like, what are you guys doing now? You
want to get some ice cream? Or
if they're just like staring into each other's eyes.
Right. Aw, David. I'm sorry.
Anyway, yeah. Really awkward ending, but what are you going to do? This is one of 21 episodes where the Midnight Society doesn't douse the fire.
Yes.
The last shot is of the 3 of them being really awkward and cringy.
It's interesting because I feel like of the episodes that we've discussed so far, they rarely do that.
Yeah.
That's actually the, exception when they douse the fire.
Yeah.
Which I thought of it in my brain as just a given, as like, that's what they do every single time.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, there we go. So
that's the end of the episode.
Scale of 1 to 10. How scary was this episode?
Scale of 1 to 10. So I gave this a 6 out of 10.
Really? Okay.
Is that higher or lower than you thought?
That's higher than I thought.
Well, there's a reason for that.
Yeah, tell me why.
As I've said multiple times, I wore glasses as a kid.
Yes.
I didn't really separate the two from super specs to just my regular old needing to see glasses.
Mm-hmm.
So I always had this, thought in the back of my mind. I always wondered when the day was going to come that I would get like an updated prescription and get a new pair of sweet specs of my own and start seeing shadow people around my house.
You thought that was coming with your glasses as like
I thought it could happen any day.
Wow.
I thought it was just a matter of time. If it happens at a magic shop, it could happen at the glasses store where they make my glasses.
Yeah, they could.
What if they sprinkle some?
Yeah,
what if somebody who works
a
there
spell
casts a spell
while they make my glasses?
Exactly.
Wow, I would have never thought about that
because you didn't wear glasses, and probably nobody else who wore glasses because I'm just one.
You're a kid. You were a kid.
Singular entity. I am one of a kind. I tell you that. But the reality is that I didn't need glasses to see the shadow people around my house, and neither did my sister.
Ooh, yeah, I've heard about those people, and
I've got those
scary.
stories. I've seen some things.
Real scary.
I can tell you my war stories around the fire with a whiskey in my hand. So that was why I gave it a 6 out of 10, because as a kid, this idea scared me.
It was very close to
this doesn't scare me as an adult, but because of how much this gave me the spooks
as a kid,
I had to bump it up from like a 5 to a 6.
Fair enough.
But again, there are much scarier episodes.
This one was up your alley at the time.
So anyway, what'd you give it?
Well, as I said, I didn't wear glasses. It wasn't really in my personal haunting
your experience
space. I was just not thinking that way. It wasn't part of my experience.
Right, sure.
This is probably the biggest discrepancy we've had so far.
You gave like a 2, didn't you?
Yeah, I gave it a 2.
Wow.
Because the
wild.
idea of a parallel universe is very interesting to me, and I love that idea, but I don't really find it scary for whatever reason, even though I should. That's probably, besides things like Black-Eyed Kids and those kind of glitch in the Matrix sort of stories, those do scare me. But in general, the idea of a parallel universe doesn't scare me. And it didn't feel like this was especially malicious on the whole, especially since they won.
Right.
So it just didn't.
It's not especially scary, and I have trouble with the endings because I can be spooked by an idea and a concept and the visuals until the ending, and I'm like, oh, that's not as scary.
Mm-hmm.
Then you revealed to me what was actually happening.
Did you feel that way about this one?
I felt that way about all of them.
Yeah.
I think.
Once you know the answer, it's not scary anymore.
Yeah, then once you've seen the monster, it's not as scary, right?
Right.
Anyway, but because it scared me as a kid, I had to give it a little bit higher rating.
I respect that. And I also don't have memories of this one as a kid. So I really only had even considering what would have scared me as a kid, I don't think it really would have gotten to me. Yeah.
Right. Aside from how scary it was, I'm very impressed with this episode, how it was put together, the writing and the way it was developed because of the research and everything that went into it. I like the choice of having Weeds and Mary Beth have the same clothes as Gary and Kristen.
Mm-hmm.
And we mentioned how alternate universe versions of Weeds and Mary Beth were wearing very similar clothing.
It was just to further emphasize that idea.
Right. And so that implies that Gary and Kristen are just another alternate universe version of Weeds and Mary Beth.
Yeah.
For me, this story checks all of my boxes for the character of Gary. It tracks with what we've said before, that he's sort of this, loner type of cool, smart kid. I think I was joking that I think he does really well in a science class, even though he's into magic and the occult and stuff and scary stories. I think he's just smart and he loves science.
For sure.
So it tracks for me that this was a super science fiction heavy story with alternate dimensions.
He probably loves science fiction.
Right. I think he loves science fiction. I think he loves science. He's just a generally intelligent guy, but kind of a loner who, I think he reads a lot. I think he watches a lot of old black and white movies. I think his dad, I think their house is very eclectic. I think his dad collects things. I think he collects, old records.
He would, yeah.
Great music. I think he collects a lot of old books, first editions of things, especially old science fiction books, horror novels, whatever. I think he has an old projector. And I think that Gary spends a lot of time watching old movies on this projector.
I like that.
In my mind, this is just me making all this up. He's really into folklore and magic and all this occult stuff on the down low because he only talks about this stuff here with the Midnight Society, and his dad has a magic shop. So I think he's gotten made fun of because you don't your dad doesn't own a magic shop without getting made fun of.
Right.
But I think he owns it. I think he loves it.
He's found
So-
his thing.
All of this makes sense to me, and it makes so much sense that you found that note about his stories tend to be about cursed objects or things like that. It's because his dad has this shop and everything, and whatever I imagine his life to be, I think it's no wonder his imagination is like as strong as it is, and why he would be the leader of this midnight society, and why he would want to do this.
Because he's seeking that type of community. Yeah.
Yes, he's seeking it out. He's creating
I
it.
love that.
He's being the change he wants to see in the world. So I'm proud of Gary. I like this story because I think it really works for him as a person. He's surrounded by fantasy and wonder and mystique, and he probably has been for like a large portion of his life.
Yeah. Love Gary.
Again, would want to hang out with Gary.
Me too.
He's the only one probably of the entire Midnight Society I think I would ever get along with. I think Gary is cool.
I'm excited to see and hear his other stories.
Me too.
Obviously, I've seen them before, but to look back at it with this idea,
I don't know which ones are
a
which.
greater understanding of who the characters are, that's going to be fun.
It's very fun, yeah. The lore behind this episode is like a tale as old as time.
Beauty and the Beast.
You know, ghosts and spirits and fairies and monsters and angels and demons and all kinds of things that live among us, either on the spiritual plane or in the fairy realm, that we can't see, but they're there all the time. You know, you and I both grew up and being taught about, you know, the spiritual battlefield, the spiritual warfare always existing around us, or at least I was.
Yes, to a degree. Yes.
To a degree. But like, it was always like, yes, there are things going around
that we don't see
around us that you
can't
see.
That was definitely told to me.
Yes. So we were spoon fed this in church, not at like, you know, our coven gatherings, at our church. So, you know, I've heard about a lot of different types of belief systems and all this stuff. And it's just true for pagan religions and like Christian religions and all kinds of stuff. It's just, you know, it's so much I can't even like distinguish now. It's all the same thing. Basically, I just, as an adult, have accepted that it's a very high possibility that there are things around us.
Sure.
Something.
A lot of cultures believe it.
Yeah, whether we do or do not understand what these things are.
Or how much interaction or how much, you know, control they do or don't have on us or our realm.
Right.
Don't know.
Not only is the whole idea that there are things around us all the time part of the lore, the main idea, the main concept is the second sight.
Mm-hmm.
The ability to see another plane or another realm or dimension or whatever you want to call it. But you have to use objects such as the super specs, aka the enchantment of an object to help oneself obtain the gift of second sight.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is old school occult lore and fairy tale, but a lot of people believe there's strong foundations in reality. It's very witchcraft heavy, very occult, but people still practice this today. You can enchant an object that isn't necessarily related to vision, but they say that it is helpful if you do use like glasses or a camera of some kind. They say it's easier because it's just natural. It's already used for seeing, but you can just as easily enchant like an item of jewelry or a piece of clothing or something that you, when you want to have second sight,
you wear it.
You can wear it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Traditionally and more naturally, there are objects in nature that allow for second sight that are already enchanted items. Like, for example, if you were to find a stone with a hole in the center of it, where you can peek through the hole, that's called a hag stone. You can look through it and you will have second sight because it's enchanted with that ability.
By virtue of existing.
Right. Same thing with like a seashell. If there's a hole in the center of a seashell, which I found a lot of seashells that have holes in them, which I never, if I'd known this, I would have looked through it.
Yeah, I've never looked through a hole.
So that works as well. It's just not as strong as if you were to have like a hag stone or something. There can be other natural things because it basically acts the same way as if you were to like be looking through a doorway. A doorway can act as a portal through which to achieve second sight, to see into something else, which kind of works for me if like looking through like a closet door. You might see something in your closet that isn't there.
Any kind of doorway.
Because they're just thresholds, which feeds into the idea of hedge crossing. An example is like astral projection. So it's something that allows you to see or journey into or visit another plane of existence without necessarily physically going. It's just like a perception. A vision into it or something. And I found a lot of this information to give credit where credit is due. There's a blog I found called This Crooked Crown, and she has an Instagram as well, and I followed it, and it's amazing. The description is witchcraft for the everyday and the extraordinary.
Wow.
So very cool. A lot of cool things. If you're ever interested,
Yeah, that sounds really cool.
go ahead. There's a bunch of cool spells, all kinds of stuff. It's pretty current.
Interesting.
And she posts stuff that's, seasonal and significant to like the time of year and everything. So very cool. I love her Instagram. She has a sweet kitty. Probably her familiar.
Yes.
So all this information specifically about this that I'm talking about now comes from her blog.
Go.
She talks a lot about second sight and how to enchant objects
To achieve it.
how to achieve it. She says you can use sandalwood, wisteria, wild thyme, and a number of other herbs to see what's beyond normal vision. And you can use trance inducers like flying ointments. And I had to research this. So witch ointments or flying ointments, they're believed to be used by witches for centuries. Francis Bacon listed the ingredients of the witch's ointment or the flying ointment to be the fat of children digged out of their graves.
Oh, no.
Of juices of smallage, which is just celery.
Okay.
Wolfbane.
Always wolfbane.
And cinquefoil, mingled with the meal of fine wheat. So that's how you make a witch's ointment. So get to digging those graves, my friends.
Thinking that most of those ingredients are pretty easy to access, but not
easy.
The children's fat.
No, whatever. Just find some old candles or something. But that's just Francis Bacon. And he probably wasn't a witch. He was just a dude.
Yeah.
So I have no idea what his
say?
occult. That was just his description of what witch's ointment could be, or flying ointment. To give an example of a hag stone used in pop culture, but fiction, Neil Gaiman in Coraline, she is given a stone that has a hole in the center of it. And she has to use this stone to find the three eyes of the ghost children.
Oh.
And basically the whole concept he's using is the lore of this is a hag stone, and it's going to give her second sight. It's going to help her.
Things, that she can't see otherwise.
So I thought that was genius on the part of Neil Gaiman. Thank you, Neil Gaiman, for being incredible.
He is a genius. Yes.
And thank you to the author of this Crooked Crown. She actually gives you a spell, step for step, how to make the potion that you can then enchant an object with, if you so desire.
Did you try it?
No, I really want to, but there are some
questionable ingredients.
No, honestly, it's very innocent, but it's very.
Don't go grave digging.
There are just, if you're gonna practice witchcraft, be careful.
Right.
Is all I'm gonna say.
Absolutely, yeah.
You want to know what you're doing.
100%. Definitely don't be messing with it if you don't know what you're doing.
It's kind of like a lifestyle choice. I was cool with all of it until it got to the point where it was like, you have to, once you've cleansed the object with the potion, you then have to sleep with it next to you. And then once you've slept with it in your bed, it's ready to go. And it just kind of was like, well, welcoming something into my bed like that kind of freaks me out.
Yeah,
because
that's a lot.
I have a nightmare fear thing of something being in my bed that I wake up to.
Yeah.
Like a figure, a person. Ugh. So that was a bit much for me.
Yeah. Probably best not to.
But everything she was describing and everything that I read about how this stuff works was spot on for this episode.
Nice.
So DJ McHale did his research for this. She was even saying, like, the more you, like, say you enchant some glasses and you have second sight and now you can look around your house and see things. The more you do it, the more the things that you're seeing, the more they're going to be aware that you can see them.
Oh.
So
it's like you become more visible to them, the more visible they become to you.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is why, with Mary Beth putting on the glasses and then them being able to see her because she's wearing the glasses, that spoke true, because it's like, oh, they can only see her when she's wearing the glasses. That just tells me when she puts those on, they can see her, but she looks like a shadow person. Ugh. They see her
as a shadow person.
Yeah.
And she's essentially revealing herself to them when she puts on.
She's just appearing as something, right?
Yeah.
And so that made me think about them playing basketball.
Yeah. In the other world, they're doing what they're doing.
They're just kids playing basketball.
Yeah.
And one of them goes, "Oh,
look at that.
What the hell is that?"
Yeah.
And there's just this girl standing there.
That is weird.
Wearing all black, just watching them like a big silhouette, just standing in the middle of the, playground.
Makes you feel kind of bad for them.
Yeah. And that's why they stopped and they were like, whoa, what is that?
That's a good point. Yeah. Now I get it.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought this was very cool.
Yeah. He knew what he was talking about.
This is legitimate old world witchcraft stuff here
that
you can go do if you want to. I don't know that I will, but if you do, please tell us. Did it work?
Would love to hear about your experiences.
And that's pretty much all I've got. I have one last bit of trivia about this
Hit
that
me with
I
it.
haven't seen, but
Tell me.
this is apparently, to quote, it's the first appearance of the opening that was to be used throughout the remainder of the series, right? The moored boat, the swings, the house in the attic, the storm, the doorway, and then the hand holding the match, right?
Classic.
Everything that we talked about in the first episode. But this says, this was also the first of 8 to exclude background music and show the hand with the match slide into view before it disappeared, replaced by lightning and the title, rather than showing the hand with the match that lights itself.
Yeah.
So apparently that was different itself before they settled on the hand with the match.
Weird. I don't know.
I don't
can't
know.
picture it now.
I tried to find it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think on a lot of these streaming platforms, the intro is often different than what was used in the series. Or if there was a one-off that was different, it probably isn't on these streaming platforms because they just slap the same one on all of them.
Well, yeah, with me, I'm watching the DVDs,
right,
and the box set, and yeah, the opening is the same every time.
Yeah, and it's the same on Paramount Plus as well.
But when it aired,
it would have been
they were different.
Yeah. I hate that we
So,
can't see the different options.
I wonder if the boss hag has any hag stones.
I wish that I had a hagstone.
We'll have to ask her when we get there.
I would love to see.
I mean, it makes me want to look through rocks now. When
I for sure next time if I ever find a rock with a hole.
Seashells for sure too.
Oh yeah.
I know.
Those are a little easier to come by around here.
Yeah. But maybe we should enchant an object one day.
Just give it a shot.
Just give it a shot. It's not that scary. I'll drink a bunch of beers one day. I'll get brave.
Oh no.
No, it takes days. It takes time. You have to soak it in moonlight and all
I feel
kinds of fun
like doing witchcraft drunk is akin to driving drunk. Like, you do not want to do that.
Yeah.
Seems like a bad move. You never know.
You never know.
That's pretty dark.
That's pretty dark. So thanks for listening to me talk for way too long about stuff that is very cool. But
yeah, we love this stuff. Yeah, thanks for listening. We appreciate you. As always, go click the buttons, do that stuff.
yes, go follow the socials.
Please do.
Let us know what you think and how we can do better. Tell us how we can do worse, too.
Please tell me how I can do worse. That would really help my self-esteem. Because then I'll know what I'm doing right.
Yes, exactly. Anyway, cool. Well, until next time, sweet dreams, everybody.
Yeah, sweet dreams.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to That's Pretty Dark, written and produced by Christian Baxter Mott and Kaylin Andrews.
Our music is composed by Jonathan Simmons, and our art is provided by Paige Garland at Power Girl Illustration.
Join the collective nostalgia and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at That's Pretty Dark Podcast.
Share your experiences and let us know what shows, films, or villains still haunt you from childhood at that'sprettydarkpodcast@gmail.com. Remember, you're never really alone.
So until next time, sweet dreams, everyone.